Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with another video, and this time we are going to do tennis predictions. Novak Djokovic 2024 season. I have to get used to it. It's not 2023 anymore. 2024 season predictions. Now, I am perfectly aware that his season started yesterday. He played a singles match, he played a mixed doubles match, but let's be honest, we are not here because of team tournaments. We're not here because of ATP 250s and ATP 500s. We are here because of majors. We're here because of Olympic Games, and we are here because of Masters tournaments, and of course the season-ending tournaments. If he qualifies, well, who knows? Everything can happen. Um, we are here because of the good stuff. Now, I actually think that Novak is going to. I'm just jump straight into it. I actually think that Novak is going to do well in the United Cup. I actually think he's going to win it because he hasn't lost in Australia since I think 2018. Um, he's on a 41-42 match winning streak, something like that, ridiculous. He always wins in Australia. Not a lot of tough opposition there. Probably Zverev is the toughest opponent, I think. I'm not really sure if Medvedev is playing. I didn't really go through it. I'm still kind of, I'm watching more NFL now than tennis. Tennis on January 1st is kind of like, it's kind of like basketball in October. Nobody really watches it. I mean, NBA, of course. I'm not really like into that tournament. But, based on the past, I think Novak's going to always do well. So I would not be surprised if he wins the United Cup with Serbia. Now, what is important is the Australian Open, and the date is kind of messed up here. It should be 29th of January. It's a 2-week tournament, but okay, Wikipedia, it is what it is. Sometimes they mess stuff up. Um, Australian Open, the draw is, as in any major, kind of important. I know that a lot of you guys are just afraid of Yannick Sinner. Like, yes, he beat him twice, and actually technically three times if you count the doubles. But it's it's just, I mean, did you watch Novak in the past 15 years? There have been so many guys who beat him once or twice. There have been so many, I mean, better players than Yannick Sinner. We had Andy Murray in 2012, beating Novak in the US Open final, then having multiple match points in Shanghai, blowing the lead, and then they played in 2013 Australian Open final and Novak beat him. And then I mean he pretty much started owning Andy Murray ever since then. So it's like, dude, you had these like greater players than Yannick Sinner getting a couple wins over Novak, and now suddenly Yannick Sinner. I mean, he's a good player, he's a great player, but he never did anything big on majors. His highest career ranking is number four. He never played in a major final, and so on and so forth. Not trying to disrespect him, but to me, Daniil Medvedev is a much, much, much tougher opponent for Novak because Medvedev actually has 5 wins over Novak, and every single Medvedev match feels like a war. Like with Sinner, you go out, you bang, and the thing with guys who bang with Novak, serve hard, hit forehands, big backhand, so on and so forth, is that Novak's going to beat him at the end of the day. In a best of five, Yannick Sinner has to beat Novak Djokovic for me to believe that he can beat Novak Djokovic. They can play 10 matches on clay best of three, grass best of three, hardcore, indoor, outdoor best of three, and Sinner can beat him 8 times. I will still have to see Sinner beating Novak in best of five. It's a completely different match. Sinner's conditioning isn't that good, so if the match goes 4 or 5 sets, Novak is the favorite. So basically, what you're trying to say is that Sinner has to beat Novak in 3 sets, win all three of the sets, which is really, really hard to imagine. If you look at the singles matches, 2 matches were tied, and both the tied matches were won by Yannick Sinner, and one match wasn't close, and it was won by Novak Djokovic. So it wasn't like Sinner blew him off the court or something like that. It was a competitive match. In the third match, Novak had 3 match points, and he screwed up. So he just basically choked, which doesn't really happen to Novak. It happened only 4 times in his career. He had 4 matches in which he had match points, and he ended up losing. So it doesn't really happen that much that often. So I think Medvedev is a much, much tougher opponent, especially in hardcourt, than Yannick Sinner. And then in quarterfinals, I always would prefer the unfortunate sacrificial lamb of Andrei Rublev, who always loses in the quarterfinals, but he's just that guy. He's just the quarterfinal guy. He's like a diet version of David Ferrer. I mean, David Ferrer was a better player. That's why I'm saying the diet version. Because, it's Rublev. He's going to lose in the quarterfinals. And I would not like to see Alexander Zverev and his side of the draw. Um, I would not love to see. I mean, Tsitsipas in Australia always does well, so I would not be tremendously happy. I wouldn't be against Holger Rune because it's a best of five, and I think Novak is slowly starting to figure out Holger Rune. I think Novak would beat Holger Rune in best of five relatively easy. So, and also there are a couple of guys who are not seeded. I think Berrettini wouldn't be seeded. I think Murray won't be seeded. I would love to see Rafael Nadal in like round two. I would absolutely love to see that because I'm pretty sure. I mean, there would be if they would, let's say, hypothetically play in round three. I'm pretty sure that Nadal could possibly pull a Federer 2021 Roland Garros when he knows that he would lose to Novak, so he pulls out the match before Berrettini, and it's like, oh well, I'm just warming up for Wimbledon, blah 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 blah. I think that that would be hilarious if Nadal does that. So I would really love to have Rafael Nadal because they just play on clay all the time. Like, how the hell do you have a biggest rivalry in tennis history, 59 matches, and the most matches they played were on clay? You have one major and three Masters tournaments on clay, and somehow the most they played is on clay. You have two majors and six Masters, is six, plus the season-ending tournament, plus other ATP 500s on hard courts. It's not like you don't have 500s on clay, but they don't usually play there. It's like, how do you play the most matches on clay? So I would love the end of the Nadal Djokovic rivalry to have a couple of matches on hard courts and Novak can get a couple of back on Nadal because you cannot tell me that it's fair for a rivalry to have more matches on clay than on hard court and then people talk, well, it's really really close. It shouldn't be close. Novak should be leading like 35-27 over Nadal if they would play in a proper ratio. So just ignore that, friend. But when it comes to my prediction, I think Novak wins the Australian Open. I think he's ready. He's focused. He wants to win major. This would be tournament number. I don't know if this would count the United Cup. I don't think that would count as a singles tournament. So this would be number 99 in his career, number 11 Australian Open, which would actually be only three behind Rafael Nadal's 14 on Roland Garros. And then if he wins, let's say one more, I mean you can kind of get in some arguments about is 12 Australian Opens more impressive than the 14 Roland Garroses. But let's just leave it for in the future for 2025 if that happens. I think Novak wins the Australian Open. I think he beats, well, hopefully, he gets Yannick Sinner. So I think he beats Sinner actually in three or four sets in the semifinal, and I think he faces Medvedev in the final, and he beats him in four or five sets. Rematch of the U.S. Open final, and I think Novak comes out on top. So let me just, well, how to do this? Well, we are here, AO. We are just going to put a W in, and let me see if I could potentially potentially use the color for, oops, okay, go back. Okay, never mind. Never mind. I'm not a really that guy, so I'm just going to write in a W and that's pretty much it. Okay, we're just going to get a dub in now. Let's continue. Now, this is going to get more complicated as the season goes on, especially because of the Olympics. I don't think that Novak is going to play any of these tournaments, besides possibly Dubai, because he usually plays Dubai. Now, will he play Dubai? Well, Novak loves to take breaks. I mean, he took a 2 month break in the middle of the season after the U.S. Open. So I would not be surprised if he would cancel Dubai, but he probably gets a lot of money from the UAE government, so he probably goes there. I'm not sure if he wins it though. I think a semifinal is a realistic prediction for Dubai. It's like kind of in the middle of no man's land, so I don't think he's going to truly be focused in the tournament. So I would not be surprised if the first loss of the season would be in Dubai, just as in the previous year versus Daniil Medvedev. Now, this is the kind of the first difficult part, difficult prediction. Will he go to America and play Indian Wells, Miami? Because if he doesn't, he basically has a 2.5 month break until at least Monte Carlo. Maybe he skips Monte Carlo. So from Australia to Monte Carlo. He can go this year because last year he wasn't able to go because of the COVID stuff. Um, it's kind of stupid. It makes the least amount of sense if he goes to one tournament. Like to travel to America, play one out of two Indian Wells, Miami. It kind of makes no sense. I think he does travel to America, although in the back of his mind he will have the Olympic Games, the Wimbledon, the difficult stretch in the second part of the season. But I think he does go to America. He plays Indian Wells not really well. He's going to be out of form. So if I would have to make a prediction on Indian Wells, I think round four maybe. I just don't think that he's going to do well in Indian Wells. It's kind of um no man's land, out of form type of tournament. And then Miami. Um, I don't want to say losing finals. It's just so not Novak, but it's best of three. He maybe runs into somebody really hot. So I'm just going to say finals in Miami. I think he's going to do better. But I think he runs into somebody. Sorry for that. I think he runs into somebody in Miami, and I think he does play there. Now, if he plays Indian Wells in Miami, I do not think he plays Monte Carlo. So I'm just going to say DNP, DNP did not play. After that, he's going to probably play Madrid, and he's going to probably play Rome. Now he always does well in Rome, but let me just mix up the predictions. I honestly think that the first non-Grand Slam title of the season is going to be Madrid. Now, this is totally against everything that Novak has been doing for the past 6, 7, 8 years. He goes into the clay season totally out of form. And he is always out in Monte Carlo after one or two matches. Like he's done in Monte Carlo, and then his form slowly goes up and he does well at the Roland Garros. To say that he's going to win Madrid after not playing Monte Carlo is absolutely outrageous based on the past. But I just think that he's going to be in good mood. He won that tournament a couple of times in the past. I mean, he won pretty much every tournament a couple of times in the past. But I think he won Madrid. Was it 2020, that COVID year? I'm not really sure. I know, or 2019. I'm not really sure. And he did play that match against Alcaraz. Was it in the semifinal or final? I do not remember. I think it was semifinal. So I totally think, and I can see Novak doing well in Madrid. So I think that Novak actually does well in Madrid and wins it. And when it comes to Rome, I'm gonna go with a semifinal. I think it's going to be a little bit of wear and tear in his body. I think that's a lot of competitive matches in basically. Well, not back to back, you have 1 week off, but in Madrid, he's going to have to play, well, it's 96 singles, so he's going to have to play 6 matches, and then in Italy, again, 6 matches. So for him to win 12 matches back to back against competitive opponents, best of three on clay, in April, May, maybe cold weather in Italy. It's kind of unrealistic in my opinion. I think it's going to run into somebody and lose. But yeah, as I said, I think Madrid is a possibility, and I'm gonna just go bold and say he's going to win Madrid and be out in the semifinals of Rome. And now French Open. Now he never repeated at the French Open, and he actually never repeated at the U.S. Open. So he never defended his title. And also, when it comes to majors, his three, or actually now four most successful seasons are 2011, 2015, 2021, and 2023. The next season is always a bit worse or significantly worse. 2020 wasn't a horrible season. He ended up being world number one, but he won only one major and he lost two finals. 2016 started off really well. He was really dominant. He won the Australian Open. He finally won the French Open, and then the wheels came off. Ended up being world number two. 2022 would have been much better, but had the COVID stuff. And now we are in 2024. So let's see if he can win at least two or maybe three majors. Now, if I would have to make a prediction, which major will he lose or not win in 2024? It has to be the French Open. I think it's just in a weird spot because of the Olympic Games. He will want to play well because it's going to be the same venue as the Olympic Games. But I think if there is a loss in the perfect 28 match schedule of Novak Djokovic, I think it's the French Open. Nadal might win it. Alcaraz may win it. I think Alcaraz is probably the biggest favorite. Even as a Novak fan, I'm going to say I think Alcaraz is probably the biggest favorite at the French Open. There's a couple of dark horses in there. I just think that Novak is going to be out. Well, is it the semifinal or final? Because if I'm making a prediction that Alcaraz is going to beat him, it can be pretty much only the final. But if I'm making a prediction if somebody else is going to beat him, I mean Nadal can beat him. And Nadal can basically be in the fourth round. Uh, it's I don't know. Well, should I go with the final? Okay, I'm gonna just go with the final. I'm gonna say that Alcaraz beats him. I'm gonna go with Alcaraz beating Novak in the final. So it's 1-1 with him and Alcaraz. Novak beats him at Australian Open, and Alcaraz beats him in the French Open. So that's that. Uh, you know, had to do it. Unfortunate. Okay, so let's go to the grass season. I don't think that Novak is going to play any of these tournaments. He never does. Maybe he plays like a double in Mallorca or something like that. And then Wimbledon, why are the dates so messed up? It's going to be 15. Well, this is also messed up. Like somebody has to correct this. Wikipedia, hello? Why are the dates messed up? So Wimbledon. I know that he lost to Alcaraz last year, but I just do not see anybody beating Novak on grass. Like these guys in the top 10 haven't had a lot of experience on grass. They are potentially decent players at grass, but right now they're not good. The grass season is really short. And I think Novak has just all the experience in grass. And I think even with the Olympic Games after Wimbledon, I think Novak wins his eighth title. I think he should have won last year. He could have won last year. I think if he plays Alcaraz in the final, I'm always picking Alcaraz by default. I think he beats him. I think he's better than Alcaraz on grass. I know that Alcaraz beats him, whatever. Um, so they kind of switch up last year because he beat Alcaraz on French and he lost to him at Wimbledon. Now I think it's going to be a switch up, and I just do not see anybody else beating Novak on grass. Like I'm sorry, I actually possibly see somebody beating on clay even besides Nadal. Maybe somebody like Zverev has a great match. Maybe somebody like even Tsitsipas can play. I don't think Tsitsipas beats him, but somebody potentially can beat Novak in the French Open. But I just don't see anybody beating Novak you know at Wimbledon. So let's continue. And now the interesting part of the season. He's obviously not going to play any of these tournaments. And now we go to the Summer Olympics. It's going to be clay. It's going to be best of three, which is the worst combination for Novak. It's just I would love him to win the gold medal at the Summer Olympics, but I don't know. I think he's just going to run into somebody really hot. Like I watched that 2021 match versus Zverev, and Zverev was just playing out of his mind, and you can see the pressure on Novak. And it's not his tournament. If Novak has one weakness, it's playing for Serbia. There's a stat going around in the Twitter world or the X world that he lost, I think, seven straight matches versus top five opponents when playing for Serbia. Um, Del Potro against Del Potro, he is 16-1 on ATP Tour and 0-3 when playing for Serbia. Like who is 16-1 versus Del Potro and then goes 0-3 playing for Serbia? So it's just I think this one thing, and I know this is insane, but I just think that Novak has a better chance of winning the Olympic gold in LA 2028 at age 41. Hardcore, probably Indian Wells ground, or they're going to make a new stadium. I'm not really sure. I think he has a better chance of winning that gold medal than this. I think it's Paris, it's France, it's clay. People are going to be hungry. Everybody knows that he has a giant target on his back, giant pressure. It's going to be extremely difficult for him to win this tournament. I think this is the toughest tournament for him. I actually see him. I give him more chance winning the French Open and winning the Olympics. I think it's just, it's just one of these things. Everything is against you. The pressure is on. It's just weird. I think he has a better chance at winning the 2028 Olympics. So I think if I'm making a prediction, um, should I go with a semifinal again? I think semifinal. It's just, yeah, I do not like this tournament at all. It's just, yeah, whatever. And then what does he play? Um, he does not play the Canadian Open. Why is the Canadian Open immediately after Olympics? So you're telling me that you have the Summer Olympics, July 29th is probably going to be like August 4th, the final, and then immediately after that you have the Canadian Open. No break whatsoever. Who's going to play in Canada? Absolutely nobody. So he's obviously not going to play in Canada. Where is Canada? He not participate or play, whatever. And then I mean he always plays Cincinnati, but I mean if the Summer Olympics go well, I think he may play Cincinnati. But if it's shit, I think he's going to completely skip this part of the season and go into the US Open totally unprepared. It's just too close. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like this schedule is absolutely ridiculous. You're telling me that you're having back weeks with ridiculously high competition tournaments. I mean, I actually don't think that he's going to play Cincinnati at all. So I don't think he's playing Cincinnati. He's going to drop 1,000 points, but he's obviously not going to care about rankings. So yeah, I don't think he's playing Cincinnati. Um, and then New York. So this is going to be weird. So if my predictions are correct, he won Wimbledon. He lost the Olympic Games, and he did not play in Cincinnati. He never defended successfully. He never successfully defended his title at the U.S. Open. What? Again, the date is wrong. What's wrong with Wikipedia? It's a 2 week tournament. What the hell? But I just think that a lot of people are going to be exhausted. A lot of people are going to be exhausted. There is going to be somebody who's going to be in form, but probably not ranked that high. And I just think that U.S. Open is especially in the Olympic season is just, and you saw it last year. It totally fell apart. Like Novak's part of the draw totally fell apart. Like he played Ben Shelton in the semifinal. Like it was total chaos. I think similar thing may happen this year. I think a lot of highly ranked guys are going to be totally out of form going to America because it's a long season. You go from clay to grass to clay to hardcore in a span of a month or 2 months, whatever. A lot of pressure on. I think a lot of guys are going to be semi-injured, out of form, and I think Novak is going to be actually well rested here. And I have him winning the U.S. Open. I have him winning three majors this year. I think it's favorable circumstances for him. He's going to rebound after the Olympic Games. Like, let's just not act that Novak is a guy who rebounds badly from losses. Like he lost to Alcaraz in the Wimbledon final, and then he went unbeaten for like 4 months. He won Cincinnati, he won U.S. Open, he won season-ending tournament, and he won in Paris. He lost to, Sinner, but whatever. It's just one of these things. He rebounds really well from losses, so I have him winning U.S. Open. And now, does he go to China? Does he go to the Shanghai Masters? Last year he made a 2 month break, but this would mean that he would not play. I mean, he would basically play one tournament until November. Um, I don't know. My kind of my heart says he's going to skip the Shanghai Masters and the Asian Swing, but then I don't know. My mind almost tells me that he's going to play. So I think he actually is going to go to China. Now, if he goes to China, he probably plays two tournaments. He may play Japan. And you know what? I actually have him. I actually have him winning the Shanghai Masters. I know it's kind of weird. It's out of sync. It's kind of a weird prediction, but the late season Novak, I think it's time. I think he's going to win the Shanghai Masters, and he might win the tournament before that. He might win Beijing, or he may win Tokyo. I think, yeah, he played Tokyo because of the Olympic Games, so I think he usually plays Beijing when he's on. So I think actually bold prediction: he goes to China and he wins two tournaments. That's it. And then obviously battery saver. Jesus, what's going on? I have 19% battery. Okay. Let me just end this video quickly. Obviously, it's not going to play these tournaments, and then he goes to Paris, defending champion. He always does well in Paris, but let me just mix up. I think he's going to actually lose in the final. I don't know why, but I have him losing to somebody really in form because now he played in China. He's not that fresh, although it's still a 1 month break. So I have him kind of, maybe losing to somebody in the Paris final, and then he plays the season-ending tournament, of course. And actually, do I have him winning the season-ending tournament back to back to back? Who can beat him? Who can beat him? It's indoor. It's hard. It's fast. Yeah, I think he does it. I think he wins the season-ending tournament. He may lose a group match again, but I think he wins the season-ending tournament. So let's see how many points is that. So from Grand Slams, it's actually 7,300 because they actually now are giving 1,300 points to the finalists. So 7,300 Olympics. I don't think that's points. This is nothing. This is probably 600. 1K. So overall, maybe we're at 2K. So I did not play the month. So that's 3K, 3.6. So that's like roughly 5K and maybe some other tournaments. 5 plus 7. So yeah, I have him like at 12,000 points on the season and probably year ending number one. This is a pretty good season. The toughest loss will be the Olympics and the French Open, I think. He's going to do well in Masters tournaments. I maybe predicted a little bit too much Masters wins because, lately he hasn't been really playing Masters tournaments, and also he's not really. I mean, he's winning them, but he's just not playing them that much. So how many do I have? Wait a second. So I have him winning Madrid, Shanghai. Well, that's only two Masters tournaments. That's totally realistic. What am I talking about? And all the year-ending tournaments. Okay, so that's actually totally realistic. I think this is fair. I think this is a fair prediction. I'm just going with this. Hopefully, it does actually better than this. But I think this is an okay prediction video. So thank you very much for watching, and see you.